I am Curran Bhatia speaking to veteran trainer Manny Robles. Manny, we've seen you in the ring so many times, most recently in the corner of Charles Martin last weekend. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I wanted to talk to you about the heavyweight fight that happened last weekend. We mentioned you were in the corner of Charles Martin versus Luis Ortiz. It was a competitive fight for as long as it lasted. I'm just curious about leading up into this fight with Ortiz. The last time we saw Charles was in the ring was in February of 2020. He had a spectacular knockout under your tutelage. That was of Gerald Washington. We didn't see him until last weekend. Now, obviously, the pandemic happened. Other things happened. How did you guys decide that Luis Ortiz would be a good opponent, and why did you feel like this would be a good matchup for Charles?
Well, it's not. We waited too. First of all, we waited too long to get another fight. We were hoping to get another fight in between. When we fight in January of 2020, February of 2020 to be exact, it was a title eliminator versus Gerald Washington, and so we're supposed to get a shot at the world title, IBF world title, that is, fighting the eliminator, but we didn't. But we at least expected to stay somewhat busy, maybe have one or two fights before a big fight, but we never got that. So we actually waited almost pretty much 2 years for us to get an opportunity to fight whomever, really. We're just looking for to stay busy and get a big fight in between. But Ortiz's name came up. And believe me, I mean, we tried. His manager tried to keep him busy and get him another fight, but that wasn't the case. So Ortiz's name came up, and he was willing to fight us, and we were willing to fight him, and we ended up in Florida.
And Ortiz has certainly been avoided in the past. You and Charles Martin were able to take on this challenge. Both fighters were southpaws. Ortiz is a big guy, 6'4", Martin 6'5". So it was a good matchup in terms of power, in terms of experience, things like that. And it was definitely something that we as boxing fans were looking forward to. So in terms of the preparation, I know you mentioned the long layoff. How did you feel the preparation went over a camp with Charles physically and also mentally? How did you feel like the preparation went?
Well, the preparation went very well. As you could see, you were able to tell in the fight, we had a great game plan. He was ready mentally, physically, but unfortunately, he got caught with that overhand left that we worked on in the gym and that we try to avoid during the fight. And practice at the gym. But unfortunately, all it takes is one punch, particularly in the heavyweight division. We know that Ortiz is a big puncher himself. And, Charles got caught and that was it. I mean, what else is there? Unfortunately, I told him in the corner to look out because the same way if you remember, if you go back into the fight, the first knockdown that Charles got, from Ortiz was exactly the same punch, the jab in the overhand left. And I told Charles in practice, in the gym, and in the fight, I reminded him and I said, the same way you want to land that left hand over the top, he's looking to land that same punch. And that's exactly what happened. That was exactly it. And it just, the rest is, as you know, the rest is history. I mean, we're pretty much had control of the fight up during the first 5 rounds. And in the 6th round, I guess he got a little bit overconfident, a little bit too relaxed, and he paid the price.
That can happen in boxing, especially in heavyweight boxing. One punch can change the fight. I wanted to ask you about the success that Martin did have, because he certainly was having success. He knocked down Ortiz twice. In the first round, it was the left hand, kind of the looping left hand. Ortiz ducked his head. In the 4th round, it was the jab, and that's something we rarely see. We saw him knock down Ortiz with a jab, and we heard you in the corner. We could hear you on the broadcast. You said, keep it simple, double up the jab, work the body. And it usually is, if the instructions are more back to basics, your fighter's usually doing what you wanted in there. So was Martin doing what you wanted in there? And also your thoughts on that jab knocking down Ortiz in the 4th round?
Absolutely. He was doing exactly what we planned on as far as the fight, the game plan, working behind the jab, mixing up the jab and keeping it simple. I went back to the Deontay Wilder and Ortiz fight, the second fight, when he dropped him and he actually knocked him out with a 1-2 right down the middle. and he kept it simple. And I try to do the same with Charles. 1-2 right down the pipe, right down the middle, or mix up the 1-2, jab and a backhand, jab straight left to the body, jab left to the chin, and it worked as long as it did. And like I said, we had a great game plan, and unfortunately, and fortunately, obviously for Ortiz, a man that I have nothing but the utmost respect for. He's a gentleman inside and outside the ring, and the better man won, and that's it.
And of course, Ortiz with his story, they mentioned the stuff he's gone through with his daughter on a personal level,
right.
And then also his journey just to get here and do what he's doing. It was a great fight. And then, of course, we're talking about the end of the fight. Anyone can get caught in boxing. That happens. Charles was ahead on the scorecards. He scored the knockdown, but he did get caught with the left hand. I wanted to ask you about that moment in the 6th round, because it seemed like Ortiz landed the big left, and at that point, Charles was out on his feet. He didn't know where he was. People have mentioned the referee, Frank Santori Jr., he wasn't really near the fighters, maybe where he could be. It seemed like there was an opportunity for Charles to get seriously hurt there. What did you think about when he first got hit and he seemed like he didn't know where he was, even though he was standing? Do you think the fight should have been stopped at that moment?
To be quite honest with you, he responded. All it takes is one punch, right? And I first and foremost, I believe that the referee did a terrible job. And in that particular round, at that particular moment, because someone would have gotten really seriously hurt, seriously injured. And, I am out there to protect my fighter and look out for my fighter 100% of the time. And yes, he was out on his feet. And did the referee have to step in at that moment in time? Maybe he should have, right? But he didn't. But leading up to that round, what happened after was uncalled for, because Ortiz was being the aggressor. Obviously, he's got a hurt man. He's going to move in for the kill, which he did. But if you notice during the fight, Charles's glove got stuck in between the ropes, and he couldn't turn. So he pretty much had his back turned against Ortiz, but not by choice, because his glove got stuck in between the ropes, so he wasn't able to turn. So when that happened, Ortiz punched Charles behind the head on more than one occasion, and the referee did absolutely nothing about that as well. So I was pretty upset at the referee from the moment he got hurt up until the moment he got his glove got stuck in between the ropes, and he was being hit behind the head, and the low blows that occurred after. Ortiz did what he had to do, but that's what the referee is for, is to maintain a level playing field, and he dropped the ball. It happens.
It happens in boxing, and it certainly happened in that round 6. I wanted to get your thoughts. You mentioned when Martin went down, his hand got caught in the ropes, right. And then he got up. He wasn't necessarily back at all. Ortiz did keep the attack on to the body, to the head. Eventually, the fight was stopped, and we saw Martin visibly upset, complaining to the referee. When this was unfolding from your eyes, at that moment, when the fight was actually stopped, were you okay with that stoppage at that time?
I was. He's a fighter. Charles is a fighter. You know what I mean? Charles is, it wasn't easy for any of us to take the loss, right? But that's the nature of the sport. Somebody's got to win, and somebody's got to take the L. In this case, unfortunately, after 5-6 rounds of boxing, we were up in the scorecards, getting 2 knockdowns. We had control of the situation, but once again, all it takes is one punch, and that's it. You can call it a night. And congratulations to Ortiz and his entire team. I'm unhappy with the referee and the way things turned out at the end, but it's boxing. What are you going to do? And as far as Charles, he's a good competitor. He's a gentleman inside the ring, outside and inside the ring himself. It wasn't easy for him, but he understood. I had a talk with him inside the ring immediately following the fight, and then after in the locker room, and just say, hey, just stay humble, stay grounded, be the better man. He went to Ortiz immediately after the fight, or Ortiz's English isn't very, very, very good. I mean, he doesn't understand it very, very good. Or he must have misunderstood something that Charles said in the corner, and he shoved Charles. But Charles didn't mean any harm by what he said. I told Charles, what did you say? I asked Charles, what did you say that he got offended? And then he said, no, I just simply said that I was ready to fight, that I was ready to continue fighting. You know what I mean? But he never disrespected him in any way, shape, or form. And then he went back to the corner and apologized for whatever misunderstanding there was. They made up after the fight. We actually waited for Ortiz to come out of the locker room and met him in the hallway at the casino and talked to him again and make sure that things were okay between both. And yeah, they were, and they embraced and they talked and they both show good sportsmanship, which is, at the end of the day, this is a sport. You know what I mean? And there was no harm intended by what Charles said at that moment in time. It was just a misunderstanding, and everything's great.
It seems like Charles is, even in the loss, is improving under your tutelage, and we've seen that in his recent fights. And I do think that there's definitely a future for him in the heavyweight division if he chooses to continue. Real quick, before I ask you about what's next, I did want to just quickly ask you about that moment in the end of the fight. It seemed like, watching on the broadcast, I personally feel like Charles still wasn't fully recovered from being knocked out, and he wasn't really sure where he was. It seemed like he mouthed to Ortiz bullshit, and Ortiz took that personally, shoved him. But to your point, Charles did come back and apologize. And it seemed like, as he kind of figured out what happened and where he was, he realized that, the good sportsmanship type of thing to do, even though he was upset about losing, was to apologize to Ortiz. Is that how you feel like it went down? And we also saw you, kind of getting in Ortiz's ear, calming down the situation. What were you saying to Ortiz in that moment?
You just got to be the better man. Like I said, take the loss like a man, and it is what it is. It's a situation that you have to. You have to be the better man. You have to show good sportsmanship. And that's what this is about, really. Nothing but respect. You got two warriors inside the ring, trying to do their best to win a fight. And at the end of the day, I do believe that the audience, the people in attendance, the people watching a fight at home, they saw a good fight. And most people doubted Charles, or that he would at least give Ortiz a good fight, and he gave him a great fight, and we came in with a great game plan. My guy was ready, but unfortunately, again, he got caught with the looping left, and that cost him the fight.
That can happen in boxing, and Charles was ahead on the scorecards. He knocked him down twice, and it was a competitive fight until the end. So looking ahead now, have you spoken to Charles about what he wants to do? Does he want to continue boxing? What's next for Charles Martin, and what's next for you going forward this year?
Well, looking ahead, definitely, we want him back. We want to get him a tune-up fight. He put up a great performance. He proved to the world that he can, go in there and fight the best, like Ortiz being one of the best heavyweights in the world. And he can, duke it out with any of the top guys out there. And we're always going to be ready. We're always going to work to win. Despite what people may say or think, we're going to get back in the gym, back to the drawing board. He's going to continue to grow and get better. And whoever we face next, man, I mean, every fight is the biggest fight of your career. We don't underestimate anyone. We say tuna fights, but there's no such thing as a tuna fight. Every fight, everyone's trying to win. Everybody's trying to knock your head out. So we got to make sure that we're always ready, 100%. And I want to get them back in the gym within the next month or so. And then we'll take it from there. We'll see what the management decides to do and what course they want to take as far as who they want to put them in with next. And my job is to get them ready in the best way, shape possible. And as far as what's moving forward for me, we got a bunch of fights, man. I'm always busy. You called me a little while ago. I was in the gym working with my guys. We got some, we got some pretty good fights coming up this month. I got some pretty good up and coming fighters that have some fights on January the 29th. Locally here in the United States and at an international level. And we have a big fight with Carlos Castro versus Luis Neri on February the 5th. That should be a barn burner. It should be a great fight, and we're looking forward to that. Other fights coming up in February, March. So we're busy. Thank God we're busy.
Absolutely. You're quietly building up this really nice stable of exciting fighters, of talented fighters. I'm sure that the next few months are going to be very busy with you and your team. Just to close it out, where can people follow you, and where can they learn more about your gym and the work you do if they're listening to this and they want to learn more about you?
Yes, thank you. Well, you can follow me at manual.boxing on Instagram and Facebook, and you can come and visit my website, lbalegends.com. Or visit my Instagram as well, LBA Legends. We're not only are we my coaching, but I'm also managing fighters, so I'm excited about that as well. And the life is good, man. We just got to keep moving forward and stay positive.
Well said. Manny Robles, I want to thank you so much for the time. Very much appreciate it. Looking to see you work a corner sometime soon, and I hope to chat with you soon, my friend.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.